Well, it looks like the drought's over and the rain's come back. I'm not really sure what I'm going to get done today, but I've got some bad news. I haven't fully inspected it yet because I need to jack it up. I thought I'd start rolling on the camera. So basically, you know, I was looking over the other side, and to be fair, the other side looks kind of solid enough. There's some rust on the brake lines and stuff, but the bodywork looks okay. But I've had a look on this side now underneath here. I didn't spot it before because I had a little nosy around here, and the thing that the spring sits on has a massive crack in and has basically, looks like half of it's come down. So I can't drive this car to get an MOT or anything like that until that's sorted, because if the spring comes out, this car's going to be left on the side of the road. Oh, really annoying. So let me undo the wheel, jack it up, and I'll show you what I found. Really, really unfortunate. On a more positive note, on this one you have to undo the nuts the wrong way round. So clockwise, if you have a look here, it says off, and then it has a little arrow pointing this way. Strange, isn't it, how Rolls Royce decided to do that? So I suppose when the wheel's going forward, it's always in the direction of it being tightened. But why have they done that and no other modern car manufacturer does that? I'm not sure. If you could add that to the comments down below. Okay, so I've taken the wheel off now, and yeah, this needs, if you're hearing popping, it's just because I'm kneeling on bubble wrap. This needs cable tying down again, so that's loose. Weirdly, I mean, I haven't cleaned it yet, but this green tube looks different from the other side. The other side had like a kind of a right angled fit in here, while this doesn't, so I don't quite know what's going on there. I would have thought it would have been the same on both sides. So maybe it'll make more sense when I clean it up, unless of course somebody's just rammed the tube in there because the right angle one might have gone faulty. I don't know, but this is the big problem area. So let me get the camera down low. Can you see this massive split here? So this is the thing. See the spring here? So this big spring here sits on this massive arm here in a cup. Yeah, so it sits into a cup. And if you have a look here, you can see that it is completely split. Just here, can you see the split there? So it should be nice and flat, and it's nice hanging down. Oh, look at that. That is going to be an absolute nightmare, because if this arm has to be dropped, you have to undo this here, which is probably easier said than done. But then all the I wonder would the pipes be okay? Would the pipes be okay because they're on a flexible thing there? You're going to have to undo the drive shaft as well, aren't you? Or would there be enough room on it to... I wonder if I was to undo this here, would there be enough room on it? Thing is though, there's going to be amazing force still on that spring now. Even though this is at its full travel down. Oh, yeah. I'll be honest, I'm finding that a little bit daunting, because it's, I bet you're going to need specialist tools for that as well. I need to find out what all this is in here as well. Anyway, what I'm going to do to begin with is, I can't see anything through all the mud and dust and dirt. I'm going to put a mask on, I'm going to scrape everything down, and then we'll see what we're left with. Okay, so I've given it a nice good clean up everywhere, and I haven't used any wet wipes or anything yet. I've just basically got the mud off. So apart from the bottom of that, again, the inner wheel arch and stuff, that all looks pretty solid. This arm and everything looks solid. It's just underneath there, and it is a bit of a design fault, because all the junk's going to fall down from the road, all the mud and silt and everything's going to fall down there, and it's going to sit on there, and eventually it's going to rot through. So yeah, it's not ideal. Apologies, it's starting to rain again. Everything's a bit against me today. But a friend called Brian came round to have a look at what's what, because he was passing. And basically what he said is, and I think this is quite right, so I need to get real about this. I'm not going to be changing out the whole arm. It's going to cost an absolute fortune. If I buy a second-hand one, how do I know how long that's going to last? So if I was to get another jack, I could jack up the broken bit underneath, yeah? Jack it up to put pressure to lift it up. Maybe try to clamp the spring a little bit, compress the spring using that special tool that you get, and then jack up. And then I might grind back around the brakes and just try to weld up what's already there. And then I need to double check, but I think you can buy a repair patch that goes over the whole thing along with the bracket, so I need to double check that. So maybe I won't have to remove everything here, because to get the puller out here is going to be an absolute nightmare trying to get this drive shaft out and stuff. So I think that could be a way around it. Obviously it means the rusty metal is still there underneath it. You know, it's not a good repair, is it? But saying that, if I put the repair patch on top of it, it will pass the MOT. It will probably still last for many, many years before it rusts through again. So yeah, other things are up here. I can see that this is all loose. This thing in here, this is all loose. So I need to bolt that back up. There's I did find a bolt here on the ground when I was cleaning. So that just needs to, this got a nut and bolt thing that goes up there. It's kind of like an exhaust bracket, you know, with the rubber just up here. I know you can't see anything, but I'm going to quickly get a nut and bolt through there and lift that back up. I'm thinking maybe that's the fuel pump, but I don't actually know. So yeah, it's annoying. It is very annoying, but at the same time it is what it is, and I need to get on and deal with it. So yeah, still not really actually sure what I'm going to do in this episode, if I'm honest with you. So I'll start filming again later. Maybe I'll be able to get stuck into something. Okay, so I've got myself an M6 bolt and a little washer and a spring washer as well. I'm just going to clamp up that thing that's hanging down, and I am going to call it a day. Well, that was certainly a trying day. My trousers have a nice shade of wet on them. So yeah, all I did today was discover that the suspension has had it, and also bolt up that thing. So a massive waste of a day, but I gave it a bit of a clean up, and I suppose knowledge is power, and now I know that that bit's gone. Realistically, I'm going to have to look into both sides. If that side's gone, I'm sure the other side's gone as well. But looking at the positives, the car's looking really good in the rain, isn't it? Look at that. It's the best I've ever seen it look. I'm going to take some pictures of it like that to cheer me up. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do in this video at long last. The delivery's come through, it's got a radio in it, and also it's got a clock in it for the display up here. The reason I need a new clock is because it's got one of those old VFD displays, like the fluorescent displays, and it looks like the bottom of the glass is actually cracked off, so that's not going to work. So yeah, I think to begin with, let's just plug in the clock, see if that is working, because since I was tampering with all the wiring down here, the temperature gauge is now working for the, you know, like the outside temperature gauge. Don't know if it's registering correctly or not, but let's plug that in to begin with, and I think then we'll work on the radio. What I'm interested to see is, if we can get the radio working, will the aerial come up at the back, because the aerial is over here, so it's like an electric aerial. Will it work, or will it need work doing to it? Be interesting to find out. Okay, so I presume that this here is going to be the clock and the temperature gauge. Now the clock itself may have, the wiring might be faulty going to it. Right, so this is the clock on this side here, so let's undo this connector because they've just chopped the wires. Oh, this is different. The temperature gauge is different. Isn't that weird? Well, luckily my temperature gauge works anyway, so but it did seem a little bit intermittent. It doesn't always seem to work, but I think that might again just be a wire problem. Interesting. Right, okay. Let's see now if the clock here works and the temperature gauge here works. Yay, fantastic. You can see the time there, and you can see the temperature there. Is the hour thing going to move when I hit it? Yes, it is. Happy days. Right, okay. Look like you have to hit it individually, it doesn't just go fast. I just want to see if there's AM and PM. No. Right, okay, so that's working, and centigrade, Fahrenheit, they're both working, so you can see them there. Right, let me show you the problem with the old one and the reason it can't be fixed. So this is it here, and if I take this off, You can see, forget about the buttons, but if you have a look here, the bottom of this one here is snapped. So this is one of those fluorescent displays, really nice, that you got in the old video games like Astro Wars and stuff, you know, the grandstand games. And if you look closely there, can you see the bottom of it is snapped off? So yeah, that's the reason that the clock wasn't working. Right, let's check out the radio. You might be wondering why I've got a radio when it's already got a radio. Well, if you remember, the radio wasn't plumbed in, was it? It was just in there for display to make it look like there was a radio. The connections at the back are different. I'm sure I could make it work, but I don't want a CD player in this Rolls Royce. It never came with a CD player. I want to make it original. So I've bought the original radio that would have been in the Rolls Royce. Well, I think it's the original one anyway. So here it is. £120 I think it cost. But look, it's got different cards and stuff with it. I presume they're for protection, to stop people stealing, because this would be back in the day where, does that come out as well? Where people used to break into cars to steal the radios. Oh look, you pushed them in. Oh, that's quite nice. Oh, okay. So that's just to load it up and help you take. Whoa, did you see that? Right jump on it. I better make sure I don't lose that. That's annoying. This is broken. That was off in the picture. They didn't mention it. It was off in the picture. I thought that it was off because it was like a security feature again. But it's off because it's broken. But all I need to do is put what do I need to do? Oh yeah, look. Can you see it should have 4 little bits sticking up there? It's only got 1. You see in the middle here, it should be in the shape of a cross. And it goes into this cross here. But that's fine. Do you know what? Even a bit of blue tack or something would hold that in. Or I just need something to be flexible that will still allow me to touch the buttons there. That won't be such a big deal. What I could do there is, you know the black gunk that I used to do the surround of the windscreen? If I was to put a bit there, because that's going to remain a little bit flexible, and put that on there, I'm sure that will work fine. But anyway, we won't worry about that just yet. Right, so this is going to be the aerial at the back here, going off on this one here, and there's just a ton of connectors. I've got to work it all out. So let me see what I've got and see what connects up to here. Hopefully it will start making sense bit by bit. I'm just going to connect it up loose to begin with and then worry about putting it into the housing at a later stage. I just want to see if it works. This is the only radio that's for sale on eBay, and this is the wiring that comes with my car. I can see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, looks like an 8-pin connector, while this one here has connections all over the place. It looks like it's a 13-pin connector. They're different, they don't fit. I just seen the picture of that and I thought, yeah, that's going to fit. It's like a DIN connector, but it's different. So, joy of joys, nothing is compatible apart from the aerial cable. Yippee, we've got one out of what looks to be 50 wires. Right, anyway, I'm not daunted by wires. I used to work with thousands of them. So what I'm going to do is, to begin with, I'm going to start measuring from the speakers back. I don't even know really what are the speaker wires here. So if I put a tone down one side, I should be able to pick that up on the other side, and at least then we can eliminate 8 wires because there's 4 speakers in this car. But then we've got to work out which is the feed, the 12-volt feed. We're going to have a switch feed. We're going to have a permanent live to it. There's going to be wires to dim the illumination. There's going to be wires to put up the aerial at the back. There's loads of wires, and all of these I'm going to have to work out or look on Google for different colour codes. But the Rolls Royce colour codes are not going to match the colour codes off the radio. At this moment in time, the Rolls Royce wires are completely different than the wires coming out of the radio. So let's get started on this adventure. I think by the time I finish, it's just going to be a big sea of Wagos. Right, I'm going to push these back in. I think what I need to do is, on my actual car, I think I need to pop one of the speakers out and put a tone down the wires and see if it's coming up here or whether it's coming up somewhere along here. And then, you see, it will give me a better idea. I presume all these connections here are going to be for the speakers. Okay, so I've got the speaker out down here, and obviously there's 2 wires going to it. So let's put my meter on continuity, and just to see if it's coming up in that bundle over there. So wires together, makes a noise. So one in there. Now let's go over here, see where it's coming up. Here. Okay, so that's that one. Maybe I should mark these up so I know where they go. Right, so that's front right. Let's just pull that over this side for a minute. Now let's go on to the other wire over here. Here. Excellent. So it's the greys, isn't it? Grey and grey black. Okay, so that pair of speakers is coming up there. So I wonder how many wires we have here. Do we have 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it makes sense now, doesn't it? Those are going to be another speaker. I don't know which ones they go to. And then we got the purples and the greens. So look, that's a little bit of progress made now. I don't have to separate these out. I know what's what. Look at this. Look at that. That could be my new man bag. RR everywhere. Silk, I presume. Real leather made in England. Anyway, the reason I pulled it out is because there's every radio instruction here under the sun, apart from the one that I've bought off eBay. So, yeah, Pioneer, 8-track, wiring diagram for this one here, but none of it makes sense to my one. Also, what I'm slightly worried about is, it's all sort of coming back to me now from when I was younger. You used to have to have a special tools to take out radios to stop them being nicked. Normally they had like a metal casing. There's no metal casing anywhere. Do you know what? Maybe it is on the old one. Maybe it's on the old one and I have to... 1 second. Oh, here we go. That is the metal casing there, isn't it? So maybe I can slide that off and put it onto my new one. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to Google the make of this radio and see what's what. I think all the speakers run down these ones here on this particular one, on these connections here. So this might be a very simple way of doing it via this, but it looks like there's other options as well. Well, bad news, I've downloaded the manual, and I mean, great if you want to change the belts on it, because there's an exploded diagram, perfect for like a blue matte type video, or I should say now a yellow matte video, but it's not... there's no wiring diagram here. It's just a load of part numbers. I think this is going to be troublesome. Also, I've had a nosy in here, and you know that DIN connector? The DIN connector goes up to this point here, which is basically going to the amplifier here. So thinking about it, it has to go via the amplifier to boost the sound to the speakers, doesn't it? So although these go to the speakers, it's got to go via the amplifier first. The amplifier's in here. Unless maybe I can get the information. Maybe the amplifier itself has like a pin out and it will tell me what the different pins here do. Because maybe it's for subwoofers and all sorts of different things going on. Really, I just need it to connect to 4 speakers. So, yeah. Because basically we have an amplifier tucked away. You can just see it. You can just see it here. And that one is called a BQA 107. It's a 4x25 watt. So just in here, and that's where this thing plugs into the side. I unplugged it, you see, it goes into the side there. Do you know what? There is 4 screws. I wonder, could I just take out the amplifier out through this opening and just do this all on the seat? It might be easier than trying to reach in there, and then I might know what's what. Let me see if I can undo those screws. Well, the answer to that is yes. So I'm just undoing them, a little bit fiddly because they're actually screws with a nut. So they're bolts with a nut on the other side, which makes it quite hard to get your hands in there. But anyway, while I'm doing that, let's give a shout out to the My Mate Vince Massive. This month the members are kitdigital.com, Kip Hakes, Max Rokotansky, Having Fun Repairs, Ellensburg Amplifier Repair and Service, interesting with the amplifier repair and service when I'm working on an amplifier, Will Michaelis, Chris Seal, Felipe at MrKeeps.com, DJ VG, Ellis Garbett, Pigsy, Kenneth Blenstrop Sorensen, Gabe McCandless, Extreme 401, Robert from Timsy's Autowear, Daniel Watson, and Zeeks C. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you guys. Now let's check out this amplifier. Obviously I've got the battery disconnected. Ooh, nice. Okay, so we got a load of wiring connected here, which really I need to make a note of what it is with my camera, because I'm not going to know otherwise. So let's just take a picture of that. There we go. Okay, oh, it's here, fantastic. Look, right rear, right front, left rear, left front, and this is the plus 12 volts, and it looks like it's got a switch here and a T, upside down T there. I don't know whether that would mean maybe that's the ground, I'm not too sure. But anyway, we do have markings on here, which is good. And this side, we've got this taped up here for some reason. Oh, this is a fuse, isn't it? A gain, no, that's the gain. Right, let's leave that as it is. So I suppose the gain set at the factory. And then again we have left front, left right, rear right. Well, this is what I'm thinking in my simple mind. I think that from the radio it needs to go into the input of the amplifier, and then the output of the amplifier, the ones that I've all these ones here, surely these need to then go to the speakers. They have to, don't they? Because it's amplifying the signal to the speakers. So as far as I can see, the speakers shouldn't be coming out of the radio. So I think in my car, because I've got all this wiring here, I think that maybe somebody's fit their own amplifier, or, you know, graphic equalizer or something throughout the years. I'm not too sure. So I need to find out, is 12 volts coming up anywhere here really, don't I? Let's put the ignition back on. And let's just use the ground on the dash. See what we got. Right, so we've got 12 volts on this one here. Remember, this has also got to operate the aerial as well, isn't it? Nothing there. And 12 volts here. So we have 12 volts on these two. Also, I can see now that my temperature gauge has now gone. You can see the time's on, temperature gauge is not on, so obviously there is definitely a connection in there that's not happy. Right, I'm just looking at the radio instructions here, and I mean there is the little connections here, and for example this one here up here is the one which is the grey fella, and when I go on to that white wire there that says RR, rear right, fair play, it does actually come up on rear right there, so it must be kind of correct. Now, looking at this connector here on the radio, I can see that you have, just jumping in here with a voiceover to quicken things up a bit. So basically this connector that you see here is the kind of main connector that I need to worry about for this moment in time to get life into the radio. So this is the connector that we need to connect the car wiring that you just seen me measure to 12 volts into this connector, which connects to the back of the radio. Now I could be completely wrong here, but the 12 volts is going to be the one that I need to connect the aerial to. So it's going to provide power to the aerial. The switch 12 volts there, the second one down, I think that is when the ignition is on, you then get 12 volts. That's where the car wiring needs to connect into that one. The next one is permanent 12
volts, and that is the one directly from the battery, and that will keep the presets. So it doesn't matter if the ignition is on or off or the radio is on and off, that will keep like your radio presets, the time, stuff like that. If you've ever removed your battery in the past and it came up with a code that you had to punch when you put your battery back on, that's because the permanent 12 volts was gone from it. The next one down is going to be your ground, the negative, and the last one at the bottom there is for the illumination. So when you turn on your lights, the radio will dim so it doesn't distract you when the whole car is in darkness apart from the light, so it doesn't glare up at you. So yeah, that's it. So what we now need to do is go onto the car and find out which one is our switch 12 volts and which one is our permanent 12 volts.
Well, I'm just trying to work my way through what's what. I think I found the permanent 12 volts. So I've got the battery turned on, but my ignition is turned off. Just going to use a ground in the metal dashboard here, the frame. It looks like this brown one here is the permanent 12 volts. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the ignition on. I've still got 12 volts there, but now, is it here that I've got 12 volts? Yeah, so now watch, I've got 12 volts here on this one, yeah, and now if I turn the ignition off, it goes off. So surely, is that the switched 12 volts? In which case then, I wonder, is that the one that would then go off to feed the aerial, maybe? So I think I'm going to connect it up with a permanent live in here, and let's see if this thing comes alive or not. This is the one that just says 12 volts. Right, now let's see if it will come on without the ignition. Yes! Wow, look at that! It's come to life! No way! Oh, what tape have I got? Oh no! Look what's happened. Oh, no, that's okay. I need a pencil to put this back in. Let's just do it carefully. There we go. Right, it is the best anthems ever. Various artists. Oh, well, now that is a mystery. We have to get it working to find out what are the best anthems. Okay, so that comes to life there. Now, that's starting to make sense. So basically, we can't have it there because it's on all the time. I want it coming on with the ignition, so why don't I take out this one and put it into this one here. Now, let's see if it will come on here. No. Right, now let's turn it on at the ignition. Yeah, now it's going to come to life. Right, okay, so we know what switched is, which is good. Am I actually getting anywhere here or not? Should the radio come on without the... it should just come on with the ignition, shouldn't it? I think so. Right, leave it with me for a bit. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do now. Oh my, look at this. I thought that this one here was Earth. This black one. And I connected it to... I just connected it to the ground off the stereo here. And I went to turn it on thinking that the stereo would come to life. It didn't, but I heard a load of noise. And check this out. Let me just get out of the car quickly, so I can hear it going off now. It's to do with the aerial out the back. But guess what? It's not working properly. But look at it. Look at it. It's sticking up. Oh my god. Right, and now if I go to turn it off, watch it go back down. Ready? Turn it off here. And it goes back down. But then it kind of does this weird pumping thing. Maybe it's supposed to. Do you know what I think it is? I think it's supposed to extend a lot higher than that, and it's getting caught. Do you know what? Maybe. I mean, I don't quite understand how that's worked there, but at least it's doing something, so I should be able to understand it more. So that's one bit. Now, that should be another bit coming up, I think. Here we go. Come on, come on. Right, so that was 2 bits. It's supposed to come up in 3 bits. So let's turn it off again. Maybe I can just grease it up. See if it goes back down. Yeah, that bit goes first. Then that bit. And now it makes that extra click to probably get the other levels down. Right, okay, here goes. On. Quickly, 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 hurry up. And we need this one coming up. It's stuck here. Yeah, that's stuck there. So I'm going to have to try to free that up. I'm going to get some penetrating oil and put down there. So it's this middle one that doesn't seem to be doing anything. Yeah, so even though it's up, you can still move this a bit. There's a bit of play, but yet not in this section. I presume I'll have to take it apart and actually bring it over to the blue mat to free it up. Yellow mat. Right, so to take this out, it's easy enough. You've just got one of these little pull things here that you just give a little pull to, and that releases it from this nice little clip here. And then there's 3 screws, 1, 2 and 3. Put them there. Now the awkward thing is that you've got the pull for the fuel filler thing there, but it's okay because it's on a little keyring type thing, so I'm just going to keep spinning it round and round and round, just like you do on a little keychain. And there you go, that's off now. So this should allow me to take this whole thing out. There we go. And what have we got? Here it is. It's here, isn't it? All the way down here. What's this massive thing here? Is this the what is that about? Looks like some little computer type thing. I wonder if that's the ECU. I really don't know what that is. Anyway, I'm going to get a torch in here and I'm going to start undoing the bolts down there and try to get this out. Hopefully it'll be nice and straightforward. Okay, so I'm just undoing these 2 bolts here. I've already undone this one, I'm just undoing this one now. But I still don't think it's going to drop out because I reckon it's held in with this thing here. I think I might need to get some sort of tool and spin that round. I'll just have to make my own one out of a fork or something like that. And or maybe even just knock it round with a small flathead screwdriver. It does look like this here is a bit of a makeshift job, but you know what, it's black painted wood, and that's the exact same wood that is on the speakers here. So obviously it is done by Rolls Royce. Right, this is super fiddly. I found this in the shed. It's like a locking ring thing, but it still wouldn't come round. But I've got it loose now purely by holding the top of it and wiggling the bottom, because there's a lot more leverage on the bottom because you've got the big motor in your hand. And I think now when I lift it up, yeah, there we go, when I lift it up now, it's turning nicely. Yes, success. Oh, there we go. Yes, we've got it out. I've managed to give my thumb a right whack, but we've got it out. So let's get this straight over to the yellow mat and find out what is wrong with it. We are back on the precious yellow mat, and I'm dismantling this aerial to find out, is there something wrong with the actual extendable antenna bit, or is it something wrong with the gears? Does each section have a gear, and is one of those things broken? Who knows? We won't know until we take it apart. So that's what I'm doing here. Oh, I forgot to show you earlier, but basically there was a pipe somewhere near this, and it looked like it had a cut on it. It looked like it had been cut off, and I thought, oh, is that supposed to be some overflow or something for the fuel? But look here, it looks like the water must come out of here and then it's supposed to go down the pipe. Maybe when it's fully extended, water gets in through this area here, possibly. Or maybe when it's not extended, water goes through and it goes along here and out the pipe. Ah, so it wasn't connected to the pipe, so that means that the water would be just sitting at the bottom of the car, which might have helped it rust from the inside. Right, here we go. So it looks like I have to undo the circlip to find out about the gears pushing this up. Or the spring clip. Here we go. Bit of grease. Oh no, hold on now, I've got to be careful here. There's all sorts of stuff going on here. In here there's like a big plastic
tube coiled round. So now, surely I should be able to... All right, well, let me just see if I can open this up here, because then if I can free it up here... Yeah, here we go, look. Well, I can see a load of dirt on this bit here. Right, let me just see. I'm just going to clean it as I go along. You're not going to be able to see this for a minute. I just want to see which bits I can actually open. Right, okay. Comes out there. Hope I'm going to be able to get this back in. So it looks like the aerial is just rusted shut because all this side is moving freely. So I think I'm just going to have to use a bit of strength to try to knock it out. So I pushed and I pulled and I pulled and I pushed, and it was not moving whatsoever. Now remember, I sprayed penetrating oil down in it earlier on, so some of it must have worked its way. There's just so much surface area there for the rust to stick together, and it's a very tight fit as well, isn't it? And there's not, unfortunately, there's not really much exposed off the middle section for me to get to. So then I have to resort to using pliers. I know this is going to scratch it up because it's going to go through to the material underneath, but I need to do it. And remember, the scratches are going to be visible when it's open, but most of the time it's going to be closed, isn't it? It's only when you're driving with the radio on that it's going to be open. So I try using mole grips, vice grips, and also the pliers to hold the big section of the aerial and the middle section, and I'm basically twisting it around one way and twisting it around another way, trying to get it to twist, but none of that's working. So then I'll try this technique that you see next in the video. Trying to use it as a bit of a slide hammer. Can you see it's getting bigger? Should have done this at the very beginning. Yeah, look at that now. Come on, it must be starting to free up now, surely. Amazingly, this isn't scratching it because I'm just using my finger here to make this hole a little bit bigger. And it seems to be doing quite a nice job. There we go. Oh yes, look at that, brilliant. And look at this down here, it's moving, look. Yes. Right, okay. Yeah, look, you can just see rust and stuff here, look at that. Can you see the black mark there? If I turn it? Right. Yeah, it's rough. Listen. You're not going to hear it. Right, what I need is some kind of metal polish really, don't I? To polish this bit up here because it's so rough. You can see all the corrosion on it. See all along there? So let me see. I'll tell you what I'm going to use. Some Brasso will work a treat on here, I think. Okay, so I've just been rubbing it with the Brasso, and I think this is the problem area here. Can you see this bit here? So I don't know, it's shiny. It looks like copper on the inside. I wonder, is it made out of copper? And then chrome plated. But I think that's where it's been sat against this. So I think the problem is it's also rough on the inside of this because look, it's nice. This bit's pretty nice. I mean, it's not as nice as that bit, or it's not as nice as that bit there. But this bit is starting to move now, but not when we get to... Oh, actually, do you know what? It is getting there. I suppose it can't go all the way down because then this is going to sink below the part of the, you know, you want it to sit flush with the top of the car because otherwise rain's just going to keep sitting in here, isn't it, like a little pond. Do you know what? That might be it. Look.
I'm just going to clean this a bit more because I still feel resistance down this area. Well, if I thought about the slide hammer bit originally, then I would have caused no damage here. But it's still not bad. It really is only 0.5 centimetre off damage. So I think it's going to be okay. I have actually got a chrome pen in the car that I've been writing the names with off the Patreon. So I might touch it up with the chrome pen on that bit. So hopefully now when we put this electric area back in the car, it's going to work, because it was working before, it just wasn't extending properly, because there's no way the motor's going to be able to overcome the forces that you've seen that I had to break with the pliers acting as a slide hammer. So I'm pretty confident now that the electric area will be working. So let's put it back together, as you're seeing in this fast forwarded bit, and now we need to move on to the temperature gauge, which is the thing next to the clock, to find out if we can work out why it is intermittently working sometimes and not other times. So now with this temperature gauge, it seems to work and stop working when I wiggle the wires in here, but it could be coincidence. Right, looking at the time of this video, I'm not going to include this bit here. It's completely inconclusive. The fault's intermittent to begin with, and I can't find anything wrong with it. I was trying to measure continuity between the wires and wiggle them about. Sometimes it was beeping, sometimes it wasn't. I thought I had a faulty wire, but then it was the probe not making a very good contact on the solder connection on the actual circuit board. Inside this little thing is cram packed. It really is full. But in my messing, a wire did come loose, and that wire looks slightly stripped back, and it was right next to another wire that was also slightly stripped back. So I think both of them have shorted together when you wiggle the leads, which is probably causing the display not to work. And I think that's why sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Let me just show you a little bit of that, of me trying to solder it back on, and this way you can see roughly what it looks like on the inside. Really nicely little made thing. Ah, right, okay, well, that just broke off. Now, obviously, I've been yanking in here and stuff, but that did just break off. So it could be that. Right, do you know what I think it might have happened? So to begin with, there was a tiny little bit off solder, nearly going from the green to the black. But I reckon, because the green wire looks ever so slightly stripped back, and you can see a few strands of where the purple wire used to go, I'm wondering if the purple wire started to short against the green one, as and when these were in a certain way. So to begin with, the green wire had a bit of solder off the edge there that was nearly onto the black, but I don't think that was the problem. Can you see how the green one looks to be ever so slightly exposed at the bottom? There, yeah? And can you see how close these wires are to it? So maybe if the purple wire started to get a bit stripped back, maybe it's shorted against the green. Not sure. So what I'm doing here is just tinning up the pad again to resolder on the purple wire, and I'm reflowing the green wire and pulling it down so there's going to be none of the center core, the conductive bit, sticking out. It's just going to be the green insulation right down onto the circuit board, and then I just need to solder on the purple wire, and then we can pop it back in the car and test it. So let's jump straight to that bit there. Right, let's test that little temperature gauge. Oh, it's there. Now, is that coincidence or is it fixed? Okay, well, it appears to be working, but it's other times it appeared to work and then it would stop the next time it was turned on. So let's see. I'll leave that, and today when I turn it on and off, I'll see whether it keeps on working. Right, let's get the aerial on. Right, I've managed to get it all back in now, and the wires are all cable tied up. This thing caused me a lot of problems here. That is now on tight enough, I think. I'd like it to be a little bit tighter, but look, the rubber's not moving. Initially, this was up about 0.5 centimetre, even though this is fully tightened. Basically, when I put the pipe on the bottom, you can just see the pipe at the very bottom there. When I put the pipe on the bottom, it's kind of fouling the boot. Maybe that's why it was missed off in the first place. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't have left Rolls Royce like that. And I had to swap the bracket round the other way round. So before, this bracket, this bit was on the side and this bit was on the bottom. I had to swap it this way to give me more room to allow me to push it this way, so the pipe and the bottom of this could clear the boot more. Very strange, but anyway, what I've done now is I've forced it down as much as I can, which in turn now has tightened up this. But that isn't as good as it was before, but I don't know what's going on there, not too sure. Anyway, let's turn it on and see if it is now working. Let's turn on. Okay, they're both still working. Now, come on. Yeah, lights on. Come on. Yes, here it goes. All the way. Look at that. Fantastic. Yes, excellent. Okay, let's turn it off and see if it goes down. I'll tell you what, let's pop this down. Then we'll be able to see it more. So now we'll turn the radio off and let's see if it goes down. Yeah, there it goes. Fantastic. Oh yeah, it doesn't do that pumping thing. Isn't that weird? Maybe it's not supposed to. I thought it was maybe to get rid of water. Right, and I'm going to put it on and then I'm going to turn the ignition off. Excellent. Right, now let's see if it works when you just turn the ignition off. Yay, there it goes. Result. I'm well happy with that.
Oh, how good is that aerial? It's just so big, smooth and strong. I mean, look at the abuse I gave it and it's still working okay. So yeah, very, very happy with that. Now I'm going to call this video a day because it's already long enough. I will continue on with the radio in part 24. So if you enjoyed this one, please give it a massive thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already, and keep your eye out for part 24, in which I try to get the radio fully wired up. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care.
Bubblegum fights on the 3rd floor. Comedy specials at 8. Fishing rod in a quiet field. The wood I caught wouldn't be big enough for you and I, and say I did great. And all of these moments, they add up to something that feels so big. And all that I'm left with's a dry throat. I lose my head when you call me up and ask if I'm